Hello, TWA family. This is Rick once again, talking about USACW's live stream last night. Ho ho! What a live stream it was. If you missed it, you're going to want to go check it out on Indie Wrestling on YouTube. I'm sure they'll have it uploaded in the next day or two. You're going to want to check it out because this was a really good live stream. I do have a lot to cover, so I'm going to get into this pretty quickly here. First of all, there was a match at the beginning of the show between Jagged Bundles and the Cuban Assassin. You the man, Cuban. Anyhow, during the interview, Cuban Assassin let us know where he was last week. He wasn't actually in Havana. He was in Hollywood. And my cousin, who told me he was in Havana partying, he gets mixed up sometimes, a little bit too much tequila, too many mojos. And next thing you know, you think you're seeing the Cuban Assassin everywhere, because the Cuban Assassin is a legendary athlete in the nation of Cuba. I mean, that island is covered with people who are lookalikes to the Cuban Assassin, to Mr. Hollywood, but I want to get something right. I want to get something straight. Bill Sadler, when he was talking about what Hollywood was doing, and he was, of course, coming up with some conspiracy theory, saying that he was with Jennifer Gardner. Well, no, he wasn't with Jennifer Gardner. I mean, everybody knows that because he let us know. He told us. He said he was with Jennifer Lawrence. Let's get it right here. Hunger Games, Catching Fire, right? That one. That Jennifer Lawrence, that's who he was with. And I've seen the pictures myself. So, that's just the way it is. When you think like a Cuban, that's the way it is. You know exactly what's going on in the life of these people, and we share information through our Cuban networks, and so I've seen these pictures, and I don't know how he got that close to Jennifer Lawrence, but that's amazing. But so kudos to you, Cuban, for your relationship with Jennifer Lawrence. Also, the commentators kept saying that they saw something in Cuban's hand. Well, don't we all have something in our hand? I mean, we got fingers, right? Fingers. These are called fingers, okay? Bill Sadler, these are fingers, all right? Yeah, we all have them in our hand, all right? And sometimes if you're real good like Cuban, you can make it look like something's in your hand. See? What? See? Oh, you see it? Now you don't. Okay? You're really good like Cuban. You can make it look like you got something in your hand when you actually don't. All right? They're called fingers. So the guy was taking his finger and, choking Jagged Bundles. And, that's actually a well-documented move. Used to be a Mongolian who would take his thumb, and it was called the Oriental Spike, I believe, and he put it right in, or the Mongolian Spike, and he put it right in the guy's throat. Legal move, man. Legal move. I mean, well documented in wrestling history, so I don't want to hear none of that complaining about what happened. Now, it did end on a kind of a funny note, with the Cuban's son getting involved and all that, but whatever. That's wrestling, man. It's just the way it is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Jagged Bundles, you lost. Not to say that Jagged Bundles isn't a fantastic wrestler, because he is. I love Jagged Bundles. But when you mess with the Cuban, you find out real quick that to be the man, you got to beat the Cuban. So anyway, let's move on, because there were more Cubans involved in this evening. Got old Will Hong Kong Phooey Huckabee, the Huck they call him. I equate him. You know me. I get into this cartoon character, similarity thing, and I kind of think Will Huckabee's Hong Kong Phooey. Well, whatever. Anyway, Hong Kong Phooey. When Will Huckabee was going up against the Cuban mercenary, there was some shenanigans that took place there where it looked like the mercenary had thrown some kind of grainy article into Will Huckabee's face and got in his eyes, really messed him up. Well, I want to let you know, okay, this is a well-known fact. All Cubans have pork salt in their pockets. It's a fact. Pork salt. I would show you mine, but then I'd have to kill you. So, anyway, we got pork salt in our pockets. One really famous thing that Cubans do is we roast a pig on a spit over a fire, and sometimes we even put it in the ground. It's called a Cuban delicacy. Okay. Well, in order to do that, we've got to have the right kind of salts on hand at all times. So it's pretty much a fact that all Cubans have pork salt in their pockets. Now, if you look at the match again, you'll see that Mercenary reached into his pocket, and totally probably even forgot that he had the pork salt in his pocket. And when he went to open his hand like this, that pork salt just came off and got in his eyes. So I'm sure it wasn't on purpose, but at the end of the day, another Cuban victorious. It's getting to be quite predictable that the Cubans are going to win every match from here on out. Who's going to stop it? I mean, look, let's put this into perspective as well. All right, let's talk about who the number one contender actually should be for the title. And we'll get to that title issue in a minute. But let's talk about who the number one contender actually should be. Who's the only guy that Jeff James ever wrestled in the history of USACW? And what happened to Jeff James after he wrestled? Huh? What happened? The Cuban put Jeff James out of wrestling. He took Jeff James out. All right? Jeff James is too scared to step in a wrestling ring now because the Cuban has absolutely frightened him to death. And therefore, who should be your number one contender? The guy who keeps driving people out of wrestling. The guy who's the guy who's got the right stuff. The man that you've got to beat to be the man. None other than the Cuban Assassin. He should be the number one contender. Let's get it right. Now, let's talk a little bit about that Bronco Barnett guy. Last week after my podcast here at the Cuban Spectacle himself, me, the Cuban Spectacle. Last week after my broadcast, I had somebody instant message me and tell me that I should have talked about Bronco Barnett because Bronco Barnett's involved in all of the different angles in USACW. Well, let me tell you why I have such a hard time talking about Bronco Barnett. First of all, Bronco Barnett doesn't think like a Cuban. He thinks like a redneck. Okay? And if he wants to win, he's going to have to start thinking like a Cuban. So until the day that Bronco Barnett begins to think like a Cuban and gets away from his redneck ways and style, okay, he's not going to be on my radar. He's not on my radar. That guy is a classic redneck thinker. All right? So forget about Bronco Barnett. He's not coming up again until he changes his ways and he starts thinking like a Cuban. Next, Corey Bryant and Thunderfoot. Interesting tag team mix. I got to tell you right now, had no chance against JPJ and Taylor Justice. The Power Trip. Which, by the way, how'd they get the name The Power Trip anyway? They got no personalities. Just rage. Like that promo that Taylor Justice did where he raged on the people of West Virginia. Okay? You can't be raging on the people of West Virginia, man. They don't know any better. People of West Virginia are just like Bronco Barnett. They can't think like Cubans. All right? No point in raging on the people of West Virginia. Leave them alone. They're innocent. So Corey Bryant, man, I see the effort that you're putting out. You really want to up your level to the next level? I'll tell you what you do. You put the Cuban star on your chest and you start thinking like a Cuban. The moment you do that, you'll be the Corey Bryant that'll go down in history as one of the best pork salt carrying young kids in America. Okay? That's a fact, Jack. By the way, while we're talking about tag teams, whatever happened to we do what we want, how we want, and to who we want? Whatever happened to those guys? What happened to AWOL, right? Those guys think they got some kind of upper hand in USACW. I haven't seen them around. They seem to be scared off by something or somebody, spooked off. Maybe it was Ken Steele's voodoo. Which, by the way, Ken Steele, man, you're just about there on the thinking like a Cuban. We got some voodoo down on the island. Definitely, for sure. So you and Cuban can get some things going there. Might just be a tag team championship worth exploring. Anyway, Thunder Sam Justice. Excuse me. Thunder Sam Justice. The Claw. Really? Man. This was World Class Championship Wrestling. They laugh you out of the house with that claw. But there's room for the claw, man. You just gotta have a little extra stuff on your hand when you're doing that claw. Little Cuban pork salt on that hand. Oh, make all the difference in the world. You want to knock your guys out quickly? Cuban pork salt on your hand. Get that claw on there. It's over. Okay? Chris Keffer. Nice debut, Chris Keffer. I love your style. I like what you're all about. Good luck to you in the future. Sean Cruz and Crash Cassidy. Let's talk about that main event for a minute. Wow, what a main event. That was absolutely amazing, and I love the gunslinger Crash Cassidy. Crash Cassidy, you are the man. You deserve to be heavyweight champion. You deserve to be the USA Championship Wrestling champion. You do. You deserve it. And I totally honor you and respect you for who you are. But when you go looking for a first opponent, don't you be looking at none of these other guys. The Cuban deserves the first shot. That's a fact. He deserves it. Nobody else in professional wrestling today has the background and the elegance of Grape Ape. Nobody like Hollywood, the Cuban Assassin. Mark it. I hate that your title reign is going to be so short, but you'll get it back eventually. So one of these days, Cuban's going to retire, and he'll give it back. Then it's all yours again. But Crash, good job. Great match with Sean Cruz. And Sean Cruz, man, you deserve it. You deserve a shot at the championship, and you deserve the championship. And one day you're going to wear that championship. Because like I said, Cuban's going to retire one day. And when he does, Crash Cassidy and Sean Cruz and guys like that, Daggett Bundles, you guys can three-way for it, okay? But until that time, there's only one guy who deserves that strap around his waist, and that is the Cuban salt carrying, grape ape, ninth wonder of the world, the Hollywood, the one and only Cuban assassin. This has been another TWA update, another Talkback. And remember, TWA, we're all about the blood.